everyone. Please give a standing ovation and welcome our Vice Chairperson, Dr. S.S. Chaudhary, sir, and 4th rank All India Civil Services topper, Mr. P.K. Siddharth Kumar Ram Kumar. Give them a big round of applause. Please, be comfortable. Thank you so much, everyone. Please be comfortable. A very good afternoon to all of you. Hope you all are doing well. Well, Siddharth, I'm feeling really honored to welcome you. It's a great pleasure to have you here with us. Firstly, I would like to congratulate you on behalf of everyone on the tremendous success you have secured by getting 4th rank in Civil Services 2023. Give him a big round of applause, please. Heartiest congratulations. Now, I would like to request our Vice Chairperson, Dr. S.S. Chaudhary, sir, to present a shield to our topper to honor him. Round of applause for Siddharth once again. Now, without delaying further, I will request Siddharth to come and guide our students about answer writing skills and share strategies about how to crack IAS.
Am I audible? Okay, so I am P.K. Siddharth Ramkumar. I hail from Cochin in Kerala, and I am an architect by graduation. I graduated in 2019 August in architecture, and then I started preparing. So in my 2020 attempt, I got into Indian Post and Telecom Accounts and Finance Service. In my 2021 CSC attempt, I got into the Indian Police Service, West Bengal cadre. And in 2022 attempt, I again got rank 121, no change in service. And this year, 23 attempt, rank 4. So that has been my journey. So I'll straight away go to the strategy. So I'll just start with some basics. Okay, so I actually prepared for prelims extensively only in my 2020 attempt and a little for 2021 attempt, because mostly after one cycle is over, after the pre-mains and interviews over, mostly then there's very little time these days, except for this year when there is some time. So after that, there was about 1 week, 10 days every time for the last 3 attempts. But then somehow I think because of the 2020 and 21 attempt, which I had given fairly decently, my preparation went decently. I think because of that and a bit of luck, I was able to clear prelims every time. But then, we'll just cover about the strategy for prelims separately, mains separately, and interview is very easy. Preparation wise is not that difficult. It's actually a very fun process, the interview stage. So we'll just look into the 3 stages separately. Okay, and now we'll start with the sources. So I'm hoping that you all know what the syllabus is and everything. Can I guess? Can I get a guess? Right. So we'll start with the sources. Okay, for prelims. So basically, my strategy for prelims was that I read a lot for prelims. I consolidated a lot more for mains. And interview, I basically innovated. Like I had fresh content, like fresh hobbies and all that. So basically, it was like I had few sources for prelims. I'll just list the sources. Everyone would be knowing it, but still. Lakshmikant for polity, Spectrum, NCRT. NCRT also very little, 11th and 12th, and that too just history and geography. These are the 3 main. So basically, I think these are the 3 things that you should read. I mean, you can obviously read an alternative for Lakshmikant, maybe D.D. Basu or any other book. But generally, Lakshmikant is a fairly safe book. You can obviously add content from the institute books and all that. 11th NCRT, I have felt many of the NCRTs are very basic. I mean, people have different views. but then I mostly did not look into 6th to 10th NCRTs much. I had a look quickly on whether I can extract any content for prelims. So basically, my understanding is that NCRTs beyond 11th and 12th, that is like 6th to 10th NCRTs, are mostly important only from the prelims perspective or just for a basic understanding. So if you have a basic understanding of the timeline of what all events are happening in history or geography also, I mean, geography just 11th and 12th NCRT is sufficient. And I feel it is important to also minimize the content, minimize the books that are being read. So this was about history, geography. Yeah, history again, ancient and medieval. The Tamil Nadu book, I just read it once, quickly had some notes, mostly for prelims again, like some factual content which could be forgotten. So that was made. I had made a small note of it. And then 11th and 12th NCRT. So this was basically my the starting basic notes or basic content that I read for prelims. But then I had read a lot more for like over time. Like I started with these, I completed these. Then I started with tests. I started extensively with the previous year questions, and then with current. So so we're talking about prelims. So basically, I think all of the preparation like boils down to three things. One is PYQ, one is current, and one is like static, whatever is given in the syllabus, like syllabus areas which are specifically given. Like this is applicable for prelims and mains, more so for mains, I believe. So again, once these were completed, these were the basic books that were completed. After that, I started preparing from 2013. Like I started looking into the previous year questions for prelims from 2013. So as all of you must be knowing by now, the pattern changed about 2013. So how do you look into the PYQ? Again, I mean, I'm sure you will all be knowing, but I'll just repeat for the sake of understanding. Like you first solve the whole paper 2013 to 2024. Like the whole paper, like solution wise, like you solve the question, get the answer, but then after that you look into each and every option also, because a lot of the times if you look into the options separately, like let's say there are 4 options and 2 or 3 will be very close, 1 or 2 will be slightly different, but still you have to look into each of the 4 options, like Google it a little, just not basic understanding, because many of the questions you can get to the answer by just eliminating. But then for the sake of preparation for the next year, I think it's important to look into every option in the prelims question separately. Like you Google it a little, read about it a little. Like there were some questions so there are 3 types, 3 trends basically I feel from PYQ. One is the question itself directly replicating. So in economics, if I'm not wrong, once or twice last year, there were 1 or 2 questions which are exactly the same. The trend question or the money supply, all that. Some questions are very like directly repeating. And second is the trend. I mean, the pattern will be same. Like what happens if inflation, like correlation between inflation and money supply or inflation and exchange rate or something like that. So that is like pattern repeating. And thirdly is the option area repeating. So I remember 2-3 years back, there were questions on genetics, CRISPR-Cas9 and all that. And so although the CRISPR-Cas9 itself, the question repeated twice, the area repeated much more than twice. So there were, if you had read a little more about the options, if you had read a little more about how the gene function works or how the basic functions in that genetics class 9 or some bio, if you have a basic understanding of that by just Googling it, like how mRNA works or how ribosome, what works. So if you had read a little more on those, some of the other questions that come up later will be easier. So the point being, PYQ helps in 3 ways. One is the question directly repeating, second is the pattern repeating, and thirdly the option, the area of the option, if you look into a little more deeply in the sense just a little basic overview, like understand the area, what happens, all that also helps. So that is about PYQ. Then current again, I feel it's important to like make it simple. So I read some compilations. I read the newspaper. But then again, not to be honest, not very regular. Like if so, some days I'll be like most of the days I did try to follow newspaper, but then there'll be some days, even some weeks, when it's not possible to realistically cover newspaper and everything together. So if not newspaper, that month compilation and something else. But mostly I think newspaper is also important because newspaper helps you to like get an understanding of the mains. Like it's mostly in a form of a story like thing. Like, it's like watching a movie. You follow about the G20 event, you follow about various events from the newspaper. It's easier to remember because you will be able to remember it in a sequence, and the tail event, the head event, if you read some columns, you'll get a background, you'll get some interesting content which can be used for intros, conclusions. So the point being, it's always better to rely on newspapers. Again, which newspaper? The Hindu, Express, good enough. I think the Hindu is better for GS2 type topics, especially for mains, and Express is very good in economics, environment, and all that. But you can't. It's not possible to read both. But I used to alternate it a little, especially after prelims. So current is basically one newspaper, some compilation, and then so we are all in age of social media, YouTube, and all that. If you can, I think you can use that also to a great extent. So if you are like following YouTube, there are some good channels, even the Hindu, Express, and all that. They also have their YouTube channels. They have their Instagram, this thing, and they post the important things in screenshots, and in YouTube also they post important stuff like video on budget, video on economic survey, their discussion, and that discussion also helps you understand. So the point being, if like all of us get saturated, this is a very long process. Even your first attempt will take 1.5 2 years. So current affairs, you can make it a little bit more interesting by following the YouTube, and if you are following, not endorsing that, but if you are following, I think you can follow the Hindu, Express. If you're interested, even the First Post, Vantage, or whatever, like areas which could help in different areas. So that is for current. So basically, current affairs simplified again, one newspaper and compilation. PYQ, as I said, 3 ways it helps. Static, so for prelims. Static, basically, I read these. Then I started doing questions, previous year questions. I started doing some test series. In fact, for my 2020 attempt, I would have done about 60, 70, 80, like if not more. But then there is no clear number as to which is a safe number. It's all about like confidence, and also it helps in multiple ways. Like in your first 2 serious attempts, I think if you have an issue with time management, and it is better to like be on the safer side, practice more. And in practicing also, I feel like there are some areas. So there are 2 types of tests. One is the sectional or the topic wise, and the full length test. So full length test is towards the end you can practice, but then they should be viewed only as like for practice. Like even if you get 120, or even if you get 40, it doesn't really matter. The point should be to focus on what new information you can extract and how well you're able to manage the time and all that. But I think polity and economy, these are 2 areas where questions are generally more conceptual in nature. So since they are more conceptual in nature, if you practice more prelims tests, I think it will be easier for you to get a clearer understanding. Like let's say you learn about inflation, you learn about fundamental rights and DPSP and all that. But if you solve if you like solve prelims tests like 5 6 tests for polity and 5 6 for economics, and if not more, like after a point the questions in the areas are the same. Like there's very little to go beyond inflation, exchange rate, money supply and all that, capital markets and all that. So if you if you are having time and if you are saturated, I think once like basic level reading about your basic books and your institute material, whatever you're reading, once the basic reading is over, I think you can start with polity and economy tests. Like you can freely download it, or you can use your institute tests or PYQ. Like polity and economy are 2 areas from which you can safely get about 20-30 questions. 30 questions is huge because nowadays the cutoff is also I think 75-76. It's coming down. It's coming closer to CSAT. One year probably it will come down to 66-67. So the point being, 75 is like 38, net 38 or net 40. Let's say, to be on the safer side, net 40 if you get, you are in. You are clearing prelims. So to get net 40, if you get 30 questions directly from polity and economics, And again, if you look at the pattern, polity and economics questions are not that hard. It's mostly conceptual. It's mostly same areas, DPSP, fundamental rights, amendments, all that. Economics also same. So if you get 30 good questions from them, and you can, let's say, even if you lose 2-3 questions, you get 27. You have 27 out of the 38 that are required. So you just need to get 10 more out of all the 50-50 and all that you do. So polity, economics, just be on the safer side. Like practice a lot more. Those are conceptual in nature. The more you practice, it's safer. The more better you'll get into it. Okay. And in static, again, I think beyond these 30, that is history, beyond polity and economics, I think history also can be considered as static because the content is the same. Like whatever you read, there's very little to change. So history also, you should try to be on the stronger side, especially for prelims. And again, history also, modern, ancient, medieval, the syllabus is vast. But still, to be on the safer side, have a basic understanding, do the 11, 12 NCRT or whatever books that you are referring to. Have a safe reading of those. And if you get time, you can add on a little more. Like you can add a little more on ancient, medieval. Look at the trends. There are certain areas which are repeating. You can safely guess that Buddhism, Vedic age, ancient Buddhism, Jainism, Vijayanagara. These are areas from the PYQs which you will understand, like 2 or 3 or more questions are repeating. So have a better understanding by reading a little more. You can even look into Wikipedia, Google it, or like if you want, if you have time. Point being, these are the 3 things in static where if you add history to economics and polity, you get about 40 questions, if I'm not wrong. Like ballpark 40 questions out of 100. 40 is 80 marks. So a history, it is difficult to get all the answers right in history, but still, let's say there'll be some questions which will be easy. Like there was a question on Subha and all that, like in the Mughal period, what was the ascending order, descending order. Those are not that difficult questions. If you had read the basic, like if you even read one source properly, you would have gotten that question. So I'm saying if let's say 10-15 questions come from history, at least 5 to 7 questions will be relatively easier. So you take that 7 and you get the 20 odd from polity and economics, you are still on the safer side. So these 3 areas, history, polity and economics, you have to be strong to be on the safer side. Okay. So I'll just touch upon the schedule also. This is very individualistic. So my strategy was mostly like I didn't have a proper, I'll prepare this many hours or anything. I was more of an intensity type of guy. Some days I'll put in 10, 12, 14 hours. Some days I'll be fully watching Netflix or like very saturated, will not be doing anything. But then most of the days I will be studying, obviously. But so it depends on like how much how burned out I got of that. So mostly I think 6 hours, somewhere around 6 hours if we can study daily, I think that's good enough. Like just the quality of the hours is more important, I feel. Okay, and I think in terms of preparation also, it is better to look at it in terms of how much of content you are completing, not in terms of hours, because there's a general tendency that we have to look at it into, okay, morning I put in 2 hours, afternoon 2 hours. It's okay for some self-satisfaction, but I think just try to divide it into the content that you'll be trying to cover. That might be a safer strategy. Okay, and schedule, I think it's important also to have like a weekly and monthly strategy. Like I found it very difficult to have a daily schedule because most of the days that will either not be covered or it will be this thing. But I think it's important to have a weekly and monthly schedule because most of you will be having like at least 1 year of preparation. So having weekly schedule is very realistic, I feel. So you can keep it safely, like focus on the static more. So let's say you are like history, there's a lot of like modern, ancient, medieval 3, and then polity, then economics 5, and then environment, science, and so yeah. So in current, again, I forgot to mention environment, science and tech, and economics. These 3, even though economics comes in static also, I think these 3 areas you have to focus on current also. Like environment and science and tech mostly entirely comes from current. So if you are, when you are following current in terms of newspaper or compilation, just focus a little more on environment, science and tech and all that. I mean, it's obviously important to cover everything, but on the nitty-gritties of like minor factual details of environment, science and tech and all that. Because most of the questions from environment, very minor random questions also do come. All of you will be knowing Himalayan nettle and all those things. it's very difficult to get all those like minor things from the newspaper. But it's possible that if you are covering newspaper and some compilation or something over a period of 6 months to 1 year, you will be able to at least get an understanding about what was in news more. Or also in the options also, sometimes I remember like there'll be 4 options. One will be very like very big outlier. You can straight away understand that it is not even closely related to the answer. And also there will be 1 or 2 options which you will understand which were not the news much in that 1 year if you had been following news very well. So following the news also helps in that way. One question that I keep remembering is the IMF question. So there was a question in IMF about some fund and about which body issued that fund or something like that. So I had absolutely no idea about any of those funds, and the bodies also. It's very difficult to remember all the funds being made by all these bodies. But then, if because the IMF was in news for a very long time that year, so IMF was in news for saving Sri Lanka. IMF was in news for saving Pakistan and a lot of our neighbors. So it was easier to guess that IMF was in news, and this fund sounded like something which was used to save a country in debt crisis. So the point being, if you are following news in a very, I mean, just follow it. Even if you are not following it, covering it for 1 hour a day or something, just follow the headlines. If there's something which you feel is more important and you've not read the previous day, just give it a little more time. Keep it simple, half an hour, 40 minutes max. If you're interested, you can give it 1 hour, but then keep reading it every day. Even if you have no time, just read for 10 minutes the headlines, what all is happening. So that, and if the point of reading newspaper every day is that most of the things are continuous. Like let's say Chabahar is in news. It will be news for a week. If there's somebody coming to India for Republic Day, and if that's important, that will again be in news. It will be covered in YouTube. It will be covered in all different channels. So just be aware of what is happening, even if you don't give it much time. That will also help you. Okay. So note making. So again, note making for prelims, I had mostly focused on note making for mains only. I had very little notes for prelims, but then I did a little bit of notes for like spectrum or 11th, 12th geography and history, or Lakshmikant, again very little for prelims, mostly for mains. So I think like for prelims I had very little notes for some of the NCRTs and 1 or 2 like the basic books that I had mentioned. I had made, so the point of note making is to ensure that you don't have to read the book again, but then you have to make it a point to not write everything in the book. So just let's say for prelims, the important thing is that you will only forget factual things, and some of the factual things are very repetitive. Like in Lakshmikant, most of the things after 1 or 2 readings, you will be like you will be knowing the entire thing without even reading it again after 2 or 3 readings. So it's very like useless to make notes for prelims beyond a point. But for history and all this thing like NCRT, let's say you choose to read 6 to 10th, 6 to 12th NCRT for history and geography. So if you want to like skip reading it again, you can make short notes about things which might not repeat. Like let's say there's a box on the left side of this thing, a temple. There's some carving or Buddhist sculpture or something. The name of that, or Kalsi or some, like there'll be some places or some names which could come for prelims. So the whole point is for note making for prelims, I believe, very little notes. Just make short notes like history, NCRT, and everything together. You can make for 10 pages or hardly 10, 15 pages. Even geography, very little. So that's about prelims. I'll start with mains. So I think this is the most important phase in this whole process, and even I focus on mains much more after my first attempt and after I like somewhat got an idea about how to clear prelims. Because beyond a point, prelims you have to be like, it's also a fact like that. It's a fact that mindset also matters in prelims, because in prelims there's a lot of things that are beyond your control. The questions are also not very predictable. It's about playing with very little that you have and to solve anything that comes your way. So it's like a battle where whatever comes your way, you have to somewhat steer clear and find your way through it. But mains is a lot more predictable, and mains is where the actual battle is. You 85% of the marks, you remove the interview. The whole of the exam is in mains, and mains, the good thing is predictable. again, that triangle again works. The PYQ, the mains syllabus, because it's extensively given in GS1. What is there? 2, 3, 4. So the syllabus, the PYQ, and the current. Nothing comes beyond this. It's very, very safe. Unlike prelims, in prelims you can never say, like current also in mains hardly, like let's say 20 important topics. Let's say polity, or let's say economics. So if you look into the last 1 year, and you can safely get like what was in news for a very long time. Let's say budget is there, survey, in survey, if at all there's any major area, new idea that's coming up, or if not that, there'll be any major scheme that's completing 10 years, 20 years, or something that's being tweaked about, or something like universal basic income. I'm saying only that those are important only if a lot of discussion had happened in news about these topics. If not, they are not important. But for prelims, they might be important. So the whole point being, for mains, it's very easy. You can easily select 10, 20 topics for mains from which it can come. So in science and tech, I remember last year, or last year, the James Webb, it was very like predictable. And I'm saying, like that was one of the 10 topics which mostly everyone would have predicted that year, because that was in news. That was a huge thing. Again, something where India, like Chandrayaan, again it was predictable because it's a huge milestone for India. Space is being asked. So there's a pattern of an area that is being asked, and that thing was in news for a very long time. Predictable. Okay. So for mains, so for mains, there are again two strategies people follow. Like both are important. One is notes, note making. One is answer writing. But my strategy, again, like in my 2020 attempt, I had given like 2 sets of GS 4 papers, 2 sets into 2, and optional I had given about 4 to 6 papers. So optional especially, I wanted to get an understanding of whether if I write it this way, whether I'll get at least 140. We are all trying for 280 plus. 300 is good. Anything above 300 is very good, but at least 280. So I want to know if I write it in this way, in this like intro, how all can I write, in how many ways, which all ways. So I wanted to get an idea. So I had written about 4 to 8 tests in Anthro. Anthro is my optional. Yeah. Okay. So for my mains marks, I'll just share. So this time my mains mark total was 1059. Anthro was 326. GS, I think 420 or 435, something in between this. Essay was 129. So every year, my strong points, I believe, was like GS2. GS2, I used to get 120, 125 range every year. GS4 again, 127, 129. So the GS2 and GS4 were pretty strong. And optional, I had gotten 281 initially, then it came down to 270, then 260. This year again, 326. Optional again, I was fairly strong in terms of preparation. So I did not write many answers after my first serious attempt in 2020 because I had given interview, I had gotten result, again I had prepared for prelims, then again there were only 3 months. So I focused more on note making, but I think especially in your first serious attempt or first 2 serious attempts, it's always important to focus on answer writing also. How many tests, depending on how much, like there's again the factor of time. If you're able to complete it in that 3 hours, if you don't have an issue with the time, then maybe 1 or 2 sets for every GS, and optional again, paper 1, paper 2, just complete 1 or 2 sets. But I focus more on note making. I had extensive notes for every. I had one notebook for GS 1, 2, 3, 4, one for essay, one for optional. So 6 notebooks. And I had even small, short notebooks. There are some cute notebooks that come, like artistic ones. I had those, like pocket size ones. I had, because I used to, like, you get saturated. I used to go for a walk almost every day, like jogging or I used to play cricket or go out somewhere. So some things which you could revise, like there could be some factual things, some structures, some mnemonics, or some things which you could revise quickly, or some things which you could, like there will be some ideas which come to you very quickly. You will be brainstorming in between. In this whole process, wherever you go, even if you go for watching a movie, suddenly something, you'll somehow connect something to your GS or something. So I think I used to make a lot of notes, short notes, the big notebooks and the small ones also. And in note making, so I had a basic this thing for everything. One is intro, and then I had a small thing called SQRLED and conclusion. So this is basically stat. I'll write statistics, stat, quote, report, law, examples, and a diagram. And so this is like basically value addition. So how do you start making notes? I had proper intros. Let's say I take local self-government. So I had taken, like, you can have make multiple intros. Something as simple as like there are this many panchayats in India, or the 73rd, 74th, this thing, or like the article number, the amendment number, or something like that, or a recent context. Again, this is a little too much of detail, but I'm just saying something like a stat, something like a news background, a recent context, or some any interesting quote or anything like that. Just set for the whole thing. And in body, okay, so body. So in mains answer writing, there are two types of questions. One is a 10 marker, 150 words. One is a 15 marker, 250 words. So just like thumb rules, 10 marker, like if you want to start, like 10 marker, 10 points, 15 marker, 15 points. And to make it a little more simpler, 10 marker, 2 pages, so at least 2 subheadings. 15 marker, 3 pages, at least 3 subheadings. Like these are like very basic things, not very important, but to make a structure, like you can just remember it in your mind. So if you have 2 pages, you can have 2 subheadings or more subheadings. If you increase the subheadings and they are relevant, then it helps. If there are 3 pages, again you can divide it into 3 or more. Like there'll be at least 2 subheadings, like one is supporting, one is refuting. You can have more subheadings, like what are the steps the government has already taken, and concluded with what more needs to be done. So like these are like things which can be written everywhere, and depending on the question itself will be having some subheadings or like paths. So you can divide it in terms of those paths also. So I'll talk about this squirrel. So stat, quote, report, law, example, diagram. So I think this is where all my notes revolved around, and then intro and conclusion. So as I was saying, the intro, if it was something like federalism, like Lasky, like thinkers like Lasky said this, or thinkers like Ivor Jennings. Like if you're reading Lakshmikant, you can take a lot of comments by the different thinkers. They are not at all important for prelims, but then those are like value additions for mains. Like what this guy said, what this thinker said, what Nani Palkiwala said, what this judge said, or something like that. They can be used in intro, they can be used in conclusion, or some recent context. You can even quote a ranking, like if it is a question related to poverty, like in the recent Niti Aayog multidimensional poverty index, India's rank was this, or something like that, a news background or context. So I had like for every topic there was like 5 very good intros, which I felt were very good. But then like 5 different types of intros, 5 different types of conclusions. So conclusions are a little more safe, easier. Like they have to be positive. There has to be solutions. Like it has to be future looking. It has to be in terms of solutions. It has to be positive. And again, you can even connect it to a goal, like India 2047 or SDG or anything like that. But in mains, I think the whole point is that you should try to ensure that the specificity is very high. Like whatever conclusion you are writing, like it shouldn't be like hence. You can always write it if you don't have content, but it's always better if you have proper solutions. Like let's say, as I was saying, space. Like going forward, what more needs to be done? Even if a question on Chandrayaan is asked, space sector in general, you can have a good conclusion. What more needs to be done? Like you can prepare it beforehand. Going forward, as noted by this committee, like if it's rural development, as noted by Sumit Bose committee, what are needed? Like steps like activity mapping, or this IR committee noted this. Like have proper committee recommendations. In this report includes committee recommendations. So if you have solutions which are already quoted or noted by experts, but which have not been implemented, like there's a Damodaran committee on governance. So GS2, any topic related to governance, you could actually quote some things which were quoted in that committee. They were like separate tribunal, ADR, all that, like things which are very like regulatory impact assessment, like very basic things. But then they can be quoted in questions where you are quoting them as solutions. going forward, as noted by this expert, this committee. These are needed to ensure some goal. The whole point, like you get a generic one, but you make it specific. So as I said, 10 marker, 10 points, 15 marker, 15 points. In these 10 points, let's break it down further. You're writing 10 points. So two subheadings, like you are saying, like you're supporting. Okay, let's come up with a question. Like India-Sri Lanka relations are not good or something like that. India-Sri Lanka relations have not been recently this thing or something like that. So you support. So the statement is saying like the relations have been good, let's say. Then you support the question with 5 points saying why, how it has been good. So the first 5 points, like first point that comes to your mind will be very generic. Like point like India and Sri Lanka have a very like cultural this thing, historical this thing. Those are very generic. So you convert it by adding some specific fact, like you add an example, you add something specific in that India-Sri Lanka relation, or let's say even federalism. You write something like center-state relations. You say the independence, or like something you write, something very generic comes to your mind first thing, but then you change it by just quoting an example, like the governor issue, or the fact that only this percentage of states funds are from their own sources, or how much percentage is from surcharge and cess. So you make it more specific by adding facts, and these are facts which you can prepare beforehand, because these are areas which are already in the topic, like federalism, center state. All questions will come from these syllabus areas, one, or current, majorly in current, two, or from a PYQ. So yeah, so you prepare the intros, you prepare the conclusions with solutions, from where you can take a committee recommendations. If I can actually share my notes also sometime later, but you can also look into Telegram toppers. Different people have different, like they've compiled a lot of interesting content. So just go through them, you'll get a lot of fresh content, and then mix and use. Like read it, mix and use. Because I think even this year about 20-30 toppers would have made some good content. Like don't use the entire thing, like some value addition from here and there, some from your institute content, some from your own Googling and all that. So make your own combination. Ultimately, the combination should be unique from your side. Before I go into GS 1, 2, 3, 4 separately, I'll just quickly go through some other series. Okay, so as I said, for prelims, test series I think is important for prelims, at least from my perspective, because the more tests you do, as I said, especially polity, economics, conceptual clarity improves, even in history and things like that, because it's like by doing 100 questions, you at least get 100 data points or 100 info points, which can be used somewhere else to eliminate. So I think prelims tests, if the questions, the papers are fairly good, I think they help. Mains test series, whether you have to write everything, I personally believe after a point, if you are okay with the speed and all that, you can brainstorm the papers. You take the mains test series, you can take any amount of tests after you've completed the previous year questions and brainstorm. Like you have this thing, intro, squirrel, conclusion. You have it for every syllabus area. And then take the test, like take the question, like let's say federalism in India is under strain or something. And then like look at, okay, you have an intro prepared, you have the content and body, you know how, like you know that it is 10 points divided into 2 subheadings. Like brainstorm what subheadings could possibly be used. And then look at what statistics, what quotes, what reports, whether Pucci, Sarkaria, Punji Committee, Sarkaria Committee, ARC, which all ones, even new ones. And while quoting Sarkaria or ARC, make sure that you have some specific points in that thing. Like second ARC or NCRCW, Venkatachalaya Committee, they have some very specific points. Like there is a tendency people just quote them like that, like very generic point, and in bracket they'll just write Venkatachalaya Committee or NCRCW. But I think like take few points, like it takes very little time. What has NCRCW done? Like all their recommendations can be compiled in one page. Like 3 points, like 1 word, 2 word, you can add the points. But have some specific points from every committee that you're quoting, so that it's safer. So you have, you know how to divide it, you have the value addition, and you have a prepared conclusion also. So you can brainstorm the mains test series after a point, once you're safe with this thing. Then revision, I think revision is very important. Prelims, mains, both stages, I think revision is extremely important. Prelims, as I said, like the minimum amount of books that you have to read, let's say your institute books, the basic books that I had said, or whichever you're using, and one current source and newspaper. Like very simple, very little, but then revise them a little more so that you are on the safer side, like whatever comes from those. So the point is like this is a competitive exam. So something that comes from 11th and 12th NCERT, geography or history, everyone reads from that. So if you get something wrong from that, you are going straight away 2 minus, 4 minus. So that is the only thing you have to not do, like skip. Other than that, anything that comes from very random source, you are equally at a disadvantage like any other person. You just have to be like in your like use your presence of mind, like try to eliminate, try to like it's always a game of elimination. Like think whether it is more likely, not likely, and then even if it is 50-50, arrive at the answer using some logic. If you are following the current, if you have read some like the minimum basic books, and if you've done the PYQs, like 75% of your guesses would be correct. Then I wanted to talk about. So I'll delve into GS 1, 2, 3, 4 separately. Little detail, not much. Okay, so I'll just try to make it very little. GS 1. Okay, GS 1s there is history, geography, art and culture, society. So I think in mains, especially for history, geography, art and culture, like you, if you have very good notes, some unique content, it's very easy to answer any question that comes. Okay, so like history, like I had some content, like I had about 10-15 page of content for history, like something like what are the caste movements that happened, like that is like a one para note, like just the names and anything very important, because after a point you'll remember what it is, like what is Nadar movement or what is SNDP movement in Kerala. I don't need the specifics, but I have to be able to quote them. So I had like one para on caste movements, one on tribal movements, one on the different committees, like police had Fraser Commission, like different committees, like there was a famine commission. Those are like not very important, but they increase the specificity in your answer. Like why like if you get a +1 into 3, why lose it? So like media, like what are the major things that happened with respect like vernacular press act, like just the names. I'm talking about mains notes because nothing specific to one particular event is likely to be asked. It's more likely that something kind of an analysis, something kind of a comparative analysis, present relevance, or how it changed, what was the sequence, that is more likely to be asked. So for mains specifically, I think the notes should be very short, but have all the value content that is there. Like what are the caste movements, tribal movements, what are the commissions, what are the laws, important laws that were there, what are the, again, in terms of the syllabus itself says the leader, the event, and the ideology. So make it like, make a note of all the major, like not all major leaders, but major leaders, major events, and the ideology. So try to connect them in an answer. And then just have a very short note about some content from South India, like how freedom struggle or all that from South India, from Northeast, women. These are again asked in PYQ, but make sure that you have content, like just very little, one para or 2-3 lines, like examples. Like even you can even make note like this, like very small India map, and like women, important women, like from here, Mirabai from here, like somewhere. Like the note should be very small, but it should be very dense and very diverse. It should also cover things like social thing, like education, health, even foreigners. It was asked foreigners involved. So like have some names: Webb, Wedderburn, Hume, like five names, and the rest you can come up with some general points. Okay. Huh. And then you can also try to add some interesting content in the form of diagrams. Like so there are some stock diagrams that I used to use, like in history at least. So even if one like let's say this is the event being asked, so there'll be a previous event and then there'll be a like an event that follows it. So even in intro you can use the previous event, in conclusion you can use the next event. If not in the analysis, you can use this as this is the main question event. Like you can connect the previous and the next event because it's always in chronology. And there will be also, as I said, the Indian map, and you can add a lot of content in that Indian map. Then you can also prepare some interesting content, like for areas that which are more likely to be repeated. So a comparison of Indian thing with British or in that time. So I had a graph something like this, per capita GDP, India's and UK's. So India started at 200 and UK started at $150 or something. Dollars per capita GDP, and India's from 200 it's into 2,400 or something, and UK's is from 150 to 40k plus, and there's a point of convergence. So this you can add it in terms of colonialism or industrial revolution. Like you are adding analysis to a graph which is generic, like which can be used in many areas, and you are adding a lot of facts. So you can prepare some interesting content like this. I'm saying for even for a topic like history. So your answer, your paper will look very different. It will have a lot of value addition. It will have a lot of content, and it will also have a lot of like analysis. Every time you add comparison, relevance, statistics, all that, it increases the relevance of your answer, chances of getting marks. Also, the SQRLED thing can be used here also. History, geography, everywhere. Statistics. Let's say education. Even for education in history, you can add what was the percentage when British left. It was hardly like less than 20%, 12%. What is the hospital density? I think not important, but you can, if you have some curiosity and if you think there are some statistics which can be used. I remember 350 miles square, there was one hospital. That was the hospital density. A question like plague happening, all that. So socio-economic, if you have some general things, you can add them. That's the whole point. So that is about history, general areas, a note about all the specific things, repeating, and then intro, conclusion, and factual things. Geography. So in mains, unlike in prelims. So again, in prelims, I think geography static is very less important, I feel. Like very little direct textbook questions are being asked these days. But again, it can be asked. But I think in mains, at least, geography is a very important thing. Geography questions come about, I think, fairly 8 questions roughly come from geography, and that too static also are asked. There also you can like look at the PYQ, look at the pattern. There are some areas which are very, very repetitive. So there are some areas like water, industrial location, one disaster is asked every time, and some environmental issue. So there are like five areas which I had noted last year, and balanced regional development. So 4-5 areas from which at least one question has been coming in the last 4-5 this thing. So you prepare a little more value addition on all these things. So if you can guess 5 areas about the out of the 8, your answers are automatically better than the others. So I'm saying this, what I'm saying, might not be same after 2 years. So you'll have to keep updating them also. Keep looking at the PYQ and try to understand which are the areas which are repeating. Okay. And again, this squirrel thing, in geography also you can add a lot of the committees thing. Like there is a Mihir Shah committee on water. As I said, water is repeating. One question on water every time. This thing, Mihir Shah committee had noted like there was many recommendations. If you can get some specific things, you can add it in conclusion or in body depending on the question. Like you should focus more on the demand side, reduce the demand, not the supply. And also some specific examples on how to this thing. So you can quote committees, you can add diagrams, you can even add like watershed, like quick diagrams how this thing is I had a list of 1 page or like 3-4 pages about all the diagrams in geography. So last minute thing for geography I had 2 pages, two things. One is a list of all the diagrams, and second is a like the geography syllabus I think talks about 4 things. Like geomorphology, climatology, what else is there? 2 more things. Oceano and then Indian also. So like, and then you have the division between physical and human. So like you have to remember to add the human angle even in a physical question. You have to try to, because there's always that continuity, you have to try to add the Oceano angle even in another question, because it's all connected. There's always this thing. So I had a 1 page about the syllabus micro areas. So if I don't have topics like dimensions to put into, syllabus is where you can get the dimensions. Geography syllabus gives you dimensions which you need to quote in the answer, because sometimes from the answer directly, question directly, you might not get the dimension. But the syllabus itself has all the dimensions. And then again some specifics. So I had a box kind of thing. So one was laws, one was examples, one was bodies, and one more thing, tech. So this is like geography. So this is also like increasing the specificity. Let's say you're talking about water, disaster, everything. Like general points everyone will write. But if you have made some good examples about where rainwater harvesting is good, and one line detail, like you might know about Hiware Bazar, Odandurai, Piplandari, like there are many case studies, many examples. Like have one line detailed in about those examples also. So those are models like where they've been worked, and they can be examples about Gram Panchayats also, how they've done. Like there's one Eraviperur Gram Panchayat in Kerala which is famous. I don't quote the examples. I'm saying whole point is you can quote the panchayats which have done good work, NGOs which have good done work, like local level examples. And then you can use tech also. Like you can use the Doplas, the ensemble systems, the dot grid model. Like just look into what all GIS, like general, not just GIS. Go a little more beyond the general terminology people use. So if you look into like what technology is used in Oceano, what is used in this, a little, like it hardly takes 2 minutes to Google it, and you have a little bit of content on all that. You can use it in multiple questions. Again, laws, which laws are relevant to that question? Let's say the Water, the Environment Act. Depending on the question, you can use that. And bodies. Bodies also generally people don't use. I think it adds specificity. Like which body? Like NIO, National Oceanography Institute, the Medium Range Weather Forecasting Institute. You can add it a little bit depending on the point. Then again, committees. It's not just Mihir Shah. You have the Gadgil committee. Any question related to disaster, water, if it is relevant, and you have a list of committees and their recommendations, like very liberally use them. Don't overuse, but then use multiple committees, one line specific data about them. Mihir Shah, Kasturi Rangan, Ravi Chopra committee last year came in use. And then TSR Subramanian committee. There's a lot of committees. Again, Topper Notes have all these committees and some recommendations. If you don't have specifics from the Topper Notes, add one line note by Googling it. And again, so in history, they say the essence of history is time, chronology. The essence of geography is space. So make sure that you add diagrams, you add the spatial element in geography, there's no doubt. History, there has to be chronology, there has to be dates. You might feel that it is very like you have to mug them and all that, but some dates you'll remember. Like you can even say roughly 1750, roughly 1670, but use the dates, use the chronology, use the sequence. In geography, use the idea of space, diagrams and all that. Okay, and then art and culture and society. Art and culture, again, very few questions come, 2 or 3 questions come, but like 1 or 2 days when you're not preparing for the other things after prelims and before mains, just have 2-3 like 2-3 hours or 1 day you can prepare for art and culture. Like some good notes. So I had referred to like Nitin Singhania, but then again, most people don't, like nowadays not many use, but it was useful for me. I don't think like a separate book is needed. I think there's an NCRT book also, but like or use the institute note that you have, like any one book proper or any one content. But the point is for mains, like 1 page on all, like I had 1 page on architecture. Like I think architecture, literature and sculpture, these are areas which are repeating in art and culture, if at all the questions come. So I had 1 page note on sculpture, like what are the different types, and I had an intro prepared, I had a conclusion prepared, some interesting content. And then literature also, like what could be the introduction, what could be this thing, and a structure also. Like you can divide literature into prose, poetry, or some other structure, like in what ways. Let's say it's architecture, you can divide it into forms, like structure, form, aesthetics, or in terms of material, lighting. Like if you have content, I think you can prepare a structure beforehand for literature, for architecture, sculpture also. So you have the introduction, you have the conclusion, you have the structure. Depending on the question, you just add the content. Okay, and then here also I'd use some like innovative content. I'd use some thinkers. There's a art administrator, Kapila Vatsyayan ma'am. She had written some books, like not very, like they're actually art books, but I could get some good content. They are like very old extra books. I don't think they're very important, but you can just Google them if you want, just out of curiosity. And she had commented about Indian art and literature and all that. So I had gotten some. So she has an idea that Indian art and culture has a hub and spoke model. Like everything from a stupa to a mosque to everything. So at the center is the search for liberation or meaning, and like hubs, the different things just move. The change in the individual art form is because of the climate and the local cultural difference. So it's very generic, but then again you're quoting a thinker, you are quoting a philosophy, you are again adding examples. Everything you can quote this for everything. And she had some books like very easy to remember also, squares, like circles and rectangles of Indian art or something like that. So I'd made some small content, and how in art also there's a point of functional utility and an ideational. So there's a ideational part like you associate it with a value, but then there's a functional utility, something related to agriculture or something like that. And then how it is changing, like how there is no functional part now, it is just for the sake of tourism or something like that, how there are no experts, all that. I'm not going into the details, but the point being I quoted some thinkers and added the functional part and the ideational part. There were some like Al Basham also you would have heard. Then there are some other thinkers. If you want, you can add. I come from architecture background, so I had used some content from there also. Again, this is too much of content, not important. Hardly 1 or 2 questions come. But then out of curiosity, if you want, you can prepare a little, which possibly you can use in essay, ethics, if it helps. So basically for art and culture, simple thing, you just have to make like 5 or 6 pages of note for mains. Like these are the 3 areas which have to be focused. Prepare a proper intro, conclusion, and a structure. And in architecture also, if in PYQ a particular area is asked, have a clear note for that. Like let's say Dravidian, Nagara, all that. In sculpture also there are 2 Gandhara and all that. So just have a like PYQ note also, just have, it's hardly 10 points are enough. 10 points is like 1 point should just be like this. Then half page, 1 PYQ or 2 PYQs can be complete. So you have very short notes for PYQ and for static part. And for society, again, like for every area, same introduction, like there are urbanization, all that. I prepared introduction, like I had some quality content, Squirrel, SQR, LED, statistics, code, report, recent examples, all that, and conclusion. Let's say urbanization. Proper, like what is the degree, like extent of urbanization in India today. Conclusion, there are many committees. Generally, my conclusions were committee recommendations going forward, what needs to be done, what are the solutions. Like basically that is a very safe thing I feel. Or some goal, if I don't get any committee recommendation, some goal which has to be achieved, I'm connecting it to a goal. So for every this thing, urbanization, globalization, for every women, for every area, I prepare this note. And then if you have socio, PSAR, anthro, things like that, you can use some content. Don't again overdo it, but you can do them. I mean, add them also in socio. So from anthro, like the society part, some thinkers like for tribal Kaka committee or something like that, I used to add. I don't know if you guys know like how much you prepared. Basically, point being, you can add a little from your optional thinkers also, but very little. Okay, let's go to GS2. Okay, so GS2, polity, IR, social justice, 3 things. Sources, again, for mains, for prelims, just Lakshmikant and current, the Hindu and all that. Mains, I had innovated a lot of content from newspaper and all that. Okay, so there are some things which you can use here. So this is just specific to GS2. You might be knowing cases, Supreme Court cases. Again, here people add Indian cases only. I try to add US, UK, like very few, but US, UK, EU cases. Then opinion. So this is also part of the SQR LED only. This is part of quoting. In quoting, you can quote cases, you can quote expert opinion. Expert opinion, again, whom? In GS2, you add whoever is relevant. So it is judges, you have thinkers like Nani Palkiwala, you have Ubendra Bakshi, like thinkers. And one way to add innovative thinkers is if you are following the Hindu or the Indian Express. Whoever writes in the column, just Google them. Most of them are very like famous thinkers, very famous experts in those fields. So you can quote them also, thinkers like that. And again, committee recommendations. As I said, for every topic, there are different committee recommendations. Governance, Damodaran Committee, Sumit Bose, Rural Development, Iyer Committee on Local Self-Government. They have solutions ready-made. You can add them also. So committee recommendations. Then constitutional debates. So there is very little content on constitutional debates. But if you search, you will get some news article which talks about them. So I remember basic structure. Basic structure, everyone knows a little bit about what it is, and some like Keshav Bharatiya, like usual ones. But in some Hindu column, there was a few thinkers, like how in a constitutional assembly debate, there was some thinker like Alladi Krishnasamy Iyer or some, I don't remember exactly who was for supporting and refuting, but there were some experts who were supporting it and their argument, and some experts who were like not very in favor about like judicial independence and how that balance should be maintained. So that is something which could be used in any question related to basic structure, or any question that is related to a case which comes under the purview of basic structure. Then, so there is a topic called comparison of constitutions. So this is again connected to this US, UK, EU cases. So there were some questions like how Indian and UK judiciary are merging or like coming together in recent years. 1 year there was a question like that. So from that question, what you can take away is that questions about UK, US, and sometimes secularism about France and all that. US, UK comparison with Indian constitution and Indian judiciary and all that is asked. If it is asked once, you can take you can make some good content out of that, and you can use that as a dimension. So there are some cases which you might be knowing. There's a famous Roe versus Wade case, abortion case. Then there are some cases which come in columns like Marbury versus Madison, Judicial Review, like some very famous cases, Dred Scott case. But I made a list of like 5-10 very important cases, the Minerva, like very Miranda judgment and all that, and even the recent one, the Roe versus Wade, was overturned last year with the Dobbs versus Jackson judgment. So like 10 famous judgments, one line, what it represented, comparison with India. Like these are like things which you can add in different things. Like a general question on GS2 comparing fundamental rights or anything, you can again add Indian case and US case. Like it adds comparison analysis a lot more in a greater manner. You can quote experts like in Lakshmikant, you have thinkers like A.V. Dicey, Jennings. They talk about how the different constitutions are, some basic tenets about them. Then there are some maxims also which you can use, like even doctrines. Like you might be knowing doctrine of pith and substance, doctrine of colorable legislation, usual ones. Then some things which can be used in multiple areas, like doctrine of liberal interpretation, harmonious construction, all that, and even maxims like just cogence. So there's a principle of just cogence, which is a compelling law. So that can be used in something like basic structure or something like fundamental rights. There's a principle like some maxims like uberima fides or something like that. I'm saying again, you can take them from where do you get it? You get it from Hindu articles, columns. If you want, you can take them, just use them. Things like, okay, I'm leaving it there. Then you can also, if you have time and if you have interest, like read articles by very famous people like judges like Fali S. Nariman. So Fali S. Nariman sir's book on the state of the nation. That is a very important book, very good read. It has a lot of content. I mean, I'm not going to tell that you should read the book, but then you can read a review of the book or something like that. Like you get some good content about these books, like about GS2 and all that from some books also. Okay, IR, international relations for GS2 is entirely current. There'll be, I think, 3 or 4 questions that come entirely from current. That 1 year, again, 1 year, if it is in news, it'll entirely come from that. So just prepare a note of the current things and have some intro, conclusion, and basic things. Okay, so that is about GS2. We'll talk about GS4 and then come to GS3. GS4 is fairly simple. GS4 ethics. Ethics is fairly simple. I think I had about 20-30 page notes for ethics and I had used it for the last 3 years. But then again, ethics, so I had some basic principles like a structure. So MSR, CR, it's like meaning, support, refute, compare, relevance. So any ethics answer, like even if it is a quote or any theory part 1 question, you can divide it into like start with what the meaning is, then support it with some theory. Like you will be reading about different theories like deontology, utilitarianism, more. You support it with points, then you refute it. Like always in ethics, you should have a counter view. The whole idea of learning ethics is to have a multi-dimensional view. So you have points for refuting it. Then you compare it if you have time and points. Compare it with some other similar idea. Then relevance. How is it relevant to governance? Because we are writing an exam for civil services. So how is it relevant in this way? Like let's say even if it's a quote like you can't step into the same river twice. How is it relevant to governance? You quote an example. Like you can even take a scheme like a tribal policy or an education policy. How the 2002 or 7 or 9, like some policy, how that was useful then, how it is not useful, or how it will not be useful now. You take example of a policy, of a scheme, of a law, and then compare, and then connect it to the question. So this is one this thing. And then I had another frame. So basically in ethics, I feel again 10 marker or 10 points, 15 points. You can use the syllabus to come up with points. So I had another frame. This is like basically the syllabus. I had just divided it, shortened it into this: determinants, role of family, culture, consequences, attitude, aptitude, probity, emotional intelligence. Basically, I divided the entire ethics syllabus into different mnemonics, and then I had prepared short content, intro, conclusion, and all that. Like any question on ethics, even the fact, like a simple question on how civil servants should remain anonymous or something like that, let's say, comes. You can talk about what are the determinants of anonymity or determinants of values, or what is the role of family in that, what is the role of media in that, what is the role of education in that, like depending on what strikes your mind at that point. But you have a frame to think. What are the consequences? What are the consequences if anonymity is maintained? What are the consequences if anonymity is not maintained? You can connect it to aptitude. Whole point in ethics is like you have to, like it's safer to add content from the syllabus because the syllabus gives a, framework. So use that framework to analyze. Connected to attitude, like different. There is again in attitude you have the affective component, emotional component, the three different components. You connect it to aptitude, like civil service values, Nolan committee values, all that. Connected to probity, I'm guessing you might be knowing all these words and syllabus and all that. Pardon me if all this is going above your head. So basically, point being, syllabus can be used for coming up with points. Theory, part 1. That is the whole takeaway. This is EI, emotional intelligence, Goldman, all that. Syllabus can be used, and then you have a basic structure, you have a meaning, you support it, you refute it, add the relevance. That is this thing. And again, in here, in ethics also, you can add some interesting content. So, like this is like ethics essay is where you can also use your pop references, things that you do in your meantime, like free time, like movie references, like any movie, like safer to add some famous Hindi or English movie because that's where people come for evaluating from mostly. So English, let's say movies like Batman, Shawshank Redemption, or anything which you, some famous idea, some famous quote you can quote. Things like thought experiments. Like this time I had added some thought experiments in essay in like intro conclusion. So there's a, you might have heard marshmallow experiment. Basically like how reason and emotion both are important. Then there's a Stanford prison experiment where they say everyone, like it is not the person who is wrong, but if you give a lot of amount of power to any person, then that person's chances of him being corrupt is more. The individual experiment is not important. The whole point is you have the trolley problem in ethics. The whole point being you can use a lot of innovative content, thought experiments, movies, references, pop culture references, all that in essay ethics and all that. Then you have the structure. And okay, so for ethics, what are the sources? Ethics, my sources were mostly owned. Like I had like prepared for every topic area, like attitude, aptitude, emotional intelligence, all that. I had read some books also, but I used to read a lot of random books. I had a lot of FOMO. I don't like. There's always a fear about like something might come from this, something might come from that. But then most of my content for ethics was original, like original in the sense taken from content like googling, independent googling. Okay. Then GS3 is almost the same. GS3 again, economy, environment, disaster, science and tech, agriculture. So GS3 is the most dynamic of all these subjects. Like GS3 almost entirely comes from current. Like there'll be some questions that repeat. Again, that triangle is relevant. It is either from the current, it is or from the previous year questions, or from the mains sub topic for that is given in the syllabus. So again, notes were prepared in the same manner. The introduction, let's say agriculture introduction, like any news background, the recent farm law, withdrawal of the farm law, or something like some statistics, like a question on this thing. And body, again, committee recommendation, all that. Conclusion was mostly solution. So in agriculture specifically, this there's a government Ashok Dalwai committee recommendation. Like this is a government PDF. There are about like 5-6 PDFs on every part of agriculture. So I just looked into last. There'll be 1 or 2 pages of recommendations, and I made like some 5 points, like specific points. Then there'll be some flowcharts, some interesting flowcharts which could be used. So I just taken content from that. Again, it has every content that is related to the topic, be it marketing, be it all that. So specific content was taken for agriculture mostly from here, and the current things that is coming from Indian Express, the Hindu, all that. Disaster, science and tech, environment, entirely current. But then I had prepared some content on all the syllabus areas. Like if there's a disaster, I had like 2-page notes on all disasters: earthquake, every disaster noted. I had 10 points on everything. Some examples for everything. That was like 2-page note for entire disaster. Science and tech, again, fully current. There'll be hardly 10 topics in news. You can guess, like, it'll be either space or biotech. Again, prepare only on those things which are coming from the current this thing. So that is about GS. Essay, much like ethics, essay is also some place where you can innovate a little more. So essay, so I used to write, like, for the first 2 attempts I didn't write much essays, but then this time I did not write a single GS paper or a single anthro paper, but written about 8-10 essays, if not more, because essays you can write even without preparation, and my essay marks are not so good, so I try to improve on that. So essay, I think, again, like ethics, you can also write even now, even without any preparation. Basic idea about essay, like, you might be knowing, but I'll just reiterate. So there's an intro, there's a body, there's a conclusion. Intro, 1 page and 1 para. The intro para is also important. Intro page is also important. Conclusion, again, page and para. And then body, so there's roughly about 12-14 pages in total. You remove 1 or 2 for 1 page for each, you have about 10-12 pages that you have to write for the body. Like, basically, essay is not that hard. Just come up with some unique content, like, and then have a structure about how to go about the essay. So there will be, like, again, like essay ethics, like, you can talk about what you understand from the quote or that thing. You can talk about that in the, like, start with this thing, like, start it on a high, end it on a high. Have some interesting story or some echoing thing, or this time I remember one essay I started with the marshmallow experiment. I echoed it with some quote in the end, and another essay I started with a song by Billy Joel. Like, there were some events, and then it said, "We did not start the fire; it was always burning." And then spoke about the things, analyzed it in different dimensions, and ended it with positive solutions that were there. And then with we did not start the fire, but we sure tried to fight it. Basically, echoed it with some solutions. Basically, the point being, you can innovate a lot. You can add references. You can innovate it in multiple ways. In the body, again, you have multiple. You have the pestle. You have the like, to make dimensions. Basically, 1 page, 2 dimensions, or 2 paragraphs or 3 paragraphs. Analyze it. You have the pestle which people use, or you have the SDGs. There are 17 SDGs. You can analyze it in terms of SDGs. You can even analyze it in terms of GS syllabus wise. One you have different areas, 2 different areas, 3 areas. You can analyze it in that way. Like, whatever comes strikes to you at that moment, and which you feel is relevant, pertinent to that area, to that topic. So there's another thing that I felt, there are sometimes 2 topics in the essay area. Let's say A and B. So you can analyze it with what is A, what is B, and how A affects B, how B affects A. And there are occasions when A is there but B is not there. Let's say truth and success. So 2 different things. You can talk about what truth is, what success is. You can talk about how truth leads to success, or how success leads to truth, or how only truth is there and success is not there. There could be occasions. Basically, I'm saying you can analyze it like deconstructing it. It's like peeling an onion. You can analyze it in different ways. 2 things are there to talk about what these individually are, how one affects the other, how there are other things which affect both, how C affects A and B. Like, you analyze it from different standpoints. And then finally, you mix it, like, merge it together again, and then add a suitable conclusion. And in essay, I felt one thing that is important is, like, in conclusion, if you can, like, summarize, like, the conclusion para should be important, like, innovative. But just before that, you can try to add, like, a summarizing kind of thing. Like, I've always felt summary is not important and all that, but summarizing, I think, helps. Like, it gives a structure and all that. Like, it makes it a little textbook, but it looks structured in that manner. So that is about essay. So GS and essay are over. The last thing is anthro, and then interview. Interview will take hardly 5 minutes. So anthro. Okay. Anyone who's taking anthro from here? Okay. Okay, few hands, and people might change into anthro also sometime later. Okay, and how much have you started? Like, have you started? You completed the one reading you completed. Okay. So what have you what have you read?
Sir, I have read only once just.
One?
Only once I have read.
Okay, so like what source did you take?
Sir, sources of coaching notes only.
Coaching notes only.
Yes.
Okay. So I'll just briefly tell about what all I have read, like the textbook kind of content. Okay. So I had read like the extra three things that I added. One is like Igno notes, like selectively. Igno this time from JSTOR you get a lot of research articles. You can get about 100 free articles if you log in with your Gmail. So like for some areas in tribal, I'm saying for Anthro, you can use it for socio everything like JSTOR and Igno. You get it for all options. And third one was like EPG Pathshala. EPG again, like these three are like very huge databases. It's important to selectively filter them, selectively take some interesting content, and like the focus should be on to take content where you don't have much content. Like let's say you have very good institute content on most of the topics, on 85% of the topics, but there'll be like 5-10 topics or 5-10% of the areas where you don't have much content or where you feel your content should have more unique this thing. So there you can add from JSTOR or EPG Pathshala. Look at the topic, look at the case studies. You can add from IGNO, JSTOR, EPG, anywhere. And again, Topper Notes. Topper Notes also, like Topper Notes would have compiled from these three. So I had taken for Anthro specifically Mandar Patki notes, Mandar Patki sir's notes for socio, and like just value addition. And then I had added my own. And then for bio part, I had taken from Narayan Amit sir notes. So these were like these Topper notes had some content that was collected, and I added that to my existing notes. So Anthro, like I think these are like relevant for the most of the other humanities options as well. Like I just put some basic things. So one, I feel it is optional, it is textbook and all that. So just some points. Like one thing I felt like if you can, like all of you will be coming from different backgrounds, something which you can connect with your this thing. Like I had from architecture, we had a rural settlement survey and an urban settlement study. Like we had done, there's a village called Maturu in Karnataka, Shimoga. It's the only Sanskrit-speaking village in India. Like we had done a settlement study there, and one in a rural settlement study in Kerala. There's a handloom village in Kerala. Like I'm not saying these are important, but these like I try to add some content which are unique, which in some ways it could be added to socio or anthro. Like socio and anthro have a lot of overlap. So things like that. I had a study on Jaipur also. So I tried to add something, my own study, like not big studies, but still some insights from that into this. Second thing, governance. Like how, if you can connect it to governance, because ultimately it's again civil service exam. If you can connect it to some scheme, like let's say in Anthro, there is a lot of thing about genetics. Question might be about genetics, but if you can connect it to something like the rare diseases scheme or something that the government is trying to solve, the TB problem. India is the TB capital. India is this capital. So there's some major problem that we are trying to solve, which is a major headache for India. If you can connect that also, it might be useful. Third is connecting paper 1 and paper 2. It's again like everyone talks about this, but it's still important. You can like paper 1 is at least in Anthro is where the bulk of the subject is. Paper 2 is a little more dynamic. You can connect it, but you can connect a lot of the theory and all that in paper 2. Like paper 2 is dynamic. Paper 2 is Indian, Anthro, tribal situation, society, caste, all that. But then if you can try to add the thinkers and theories from paper 1, if you can try to correlate things from paper 1 into paper 2, again it might fetch a little more marks. Then, like in GS, intros, conclusions. I prepared a lot for every major area in Anthro also. Again, because it saves a lot of time. The whole point in mains is like, as people say, autopilot mode. You have to be on autopilot mode as far as possible. If you have a lot of content prepared, if you have brainstormed enough, if you know how to structure it beforehand in your mind, it saves a lot of time. Then innovation, yeah, this time I had looked into some DU syllabus also. There was a DU syllabus 2019 or something. Like the syllabus was also like in terms of micro detail. So there was a lot of interesting content that I got just from the syllabus. I didn't read into anything, but just from the syllabus of DU Anthro 2019 or 2020, there was a lot of interesting content. So whole point being, you can take you don't have to read a lot to get some interesting content. You can just be open to what all are there, what are the syllabus. Sometimes just from the syllabus you get a lot of structures, a lot of points, this thing. Then PYQ. Anthro optional, again every time PYQ is extremely important. Most of the questions, even beyond GS, I think optional questions or the areas repeat. And one is the question itself repeating, so you have prepared answers. Second is the questions give you a new framework, a new thing to think about. Like there was a question about comparing tribal situation in India with the tribal situation in New Zealand. There is the Maori tribe in New Zealand, then Australia and US. So that is one dimension which you can use in other questions, like comparing status or what are the schemes, what are the status, names of the tribes situation of tribes like Maoris in New Zealand, tribes in Australia, and tribes in US and tribes in India. You can compare. You have some like one-page note which can be used in multiple areas. Like in US, there are tribes which own a lot of businesses. They are very rich tribes. They used to own, and then still the condition is still way like very difficult compared to the mainstream, but still compared to Indian tribes their situation is slightly better, so you can make a comparative analysis. You get, if you Google it quickly, you will get content. Then so then there was another question about analyzing any one tribal scheme in detail. So that is like, otherwise I would just remember the names of the tribal schemes, or because it is in this thing. But since a question on 15 marker was asked specifically about analyzing one scheme in detail, I analyzed one scheme, and in that I would get like 5 to 10 dimensions in how a scheme should be analyzed. So that can be used in some other question. That can be used in some other area related to tribal studies or related to any scheme that should be analyzed, or if not a scheme that should be analyzed, you can use it at a dimension in some other question. That's another thing. So PYQs basically help you directly or indirectly. It gives you frames. Even in GS, I remember there was a IR question about how the society in Bangladesh is like after a particular event. It is like finding a split. So that question gives the insight that domestic politics or events, domestic events can also be quoted. Like how you can use the names of different factions, BNP and Awami League, or like even things like that also can be quoted, can be used for analysis. Same applies in and optional also. Then again, you can use your own content, like I'm sure everyone will know Harari, Sapiens and all that. There are other thinkers also, like in Sapiens also there is like, if you look at the summary, you will get 5 ideas from Sapiens, which you can use. You can use in conclusion. Again, essay, anthro, everywhere. There are other thinkers. There's a Diamond, Jared Diamond, Guns, Germs and Steel, like The Third Chimpanzee. There are multiple books. You don't have to read the whole book. If you want, you can, but then you can just get the summary or the ideas, 2-minute summary, all that. You can get a lot of new ideas which can be quoted, which can be connected to some things in the question syllabus and in the papers. Then there are, so in anthro again, there's physical, there's paleo studies, and then there's socio-cultural. So in every area, there are different studies. So there's a book called Exercised by a thinker called Lieberman. He's from Harvard, if I'm not wrong. So that also, so those are like new studies, new books, which can be used in bio-anthro, biological anthro, in conclusion or in analysis. Like again, the ideas from those books, like you can just take 2 or 3 ideas. You can add it to the existing content. Your content becomes fresh. Okay, so I'm not going into too much of detail. So basically the idea being, you can use like new books which are like general reading books, or which are not generally used by people in students who are learning for civil services. So that was about anthro. Now I'll just quickly talk about interview and we'll wrap it up. So interview is very interesting. Interview, so my marks was like, I got 185 twice and 187 thrice. So I gave 4 mains, 4 interviews, 187, 185, 160, this time 185 again. So this was about my marks. So basically interview, like you have a DAF, I think you all will be knowing about the detailed application form. So interview is not again very difficult. It's just 3 things again. It's either DAF, it's mostly DAF, then current, and very little static. Like I think 10% static, DAF might be 50%. Sometimes the interview might differ, like 30-40% current. Like mostly whatever you fill in the DAF, like your hobbies, your interests, your graduation, all that. If you are open, if you are aware of what are the things happening in news, so mine, and if you have some interesting things, chances are that they'll ask from them only. So this time I had architecture as my background. I was coming from IPS policing, and then I had given heritage walk as one of my hobbies, again related to architecture and heritage and all that. So I was fairly sure things would revolve around these, but the questions could possibly differ. That was the only point. So again, just make it a little different, and I feel like you can make it a little better, like make it a little more legible. Like in my first DAF, even though I had gotten 187, I remember my DAF was like I made it very very heavy. So I have a tendency to add a lot of content, make it very dense, very heavy. But the DAF should be like they'll quickly look into it. Okay, they'll just have a glance at it. So you should have. So this time I made it like 1 word, 2 word. If I'm putting heritage works, I did not like add verb and all that. Like made it very simple. You make it simple, make it interesting, and then focus on current, your graduation a little, all that. Interview is fairly simple. If you are confident, if you are like following the news, and if you know how to converse a little, if you are able to articulate it decently, interview is not much of an issue. I think anywhere above 180, like you can fairly easily achieve it. So that is about interview. So that is about the whole strategy for prelims, mains, and interview and optional.
Sir, how much time did you take to understand the whole syllabus, the whole pattern of exam and all? Because my condition was I did graduation in Kerala, and when I came here, my condition was like, ഒരു വർഷം അവിടെ ഇരുന്നാൽ മുട്ട വിരിയും. My condition was like that, and after coming here, I understood that nothing possible in that sense. So how was your preparation days? Like, how much time did it?
Like my 2020 like first serious attempt itself, like I was fairly able to complete and understand the syllabus fairly, but then I think I made a mistake about like not making it simple. Like I tried to follow a lot of things. I tried to like ultimately you have to simplify it. You have to be able to get the syllabus quickly onto your mind. You have to have short notes. You have to know where to restrict it. So I think somewhere you have to draw a line. That understanding where to draw that line probably takes some time, but I think the whole point is like you make it simple. Like you restrict the number of basic books. You restrict the amount of current affairs that you're reading. You restrict the amount of mains notes that you're making also. Like beyond 250 words, you don't have to make a note. Like you can have 5 different introductions, but still you can write an introduction in 1 page, like have different types of introduction, or make it like 2-3 lines. So I think it's all about where you want to restrict it. As soon as you understand where to restrict it, then I think it's easier. And but for the last 3 attempts, I think I've been doing almost the same things. I think it's about keeping it simple and like focusing more on the exam. Like just see it as an exam. Ultimately, it's an exam. It's a competitive exam. Like find what has to be done for prelims. Just do that, and then have a like. It's also about a lot. As I said, it's also a lot more about the mind game. Like you go and in the exam, I remember last time I hardly knew 10 questions or 15 questions like for sure. Like this is the answer, but you have to attempt 80-85. So you have to attempt everything how whatever knowledge you have, with whatever elimination you want to go by. So it's a lot about confidence also, and about limiting it, simplifying it.
Yes, sir.
Sir, actually, like we have our classes, 2 to 3 classes every day. So we are able to manage like whatever is covered on that particular day. How to manage the revision, like whatever is previously done?
Like it's like you highlight whatever, like highlight very little first thing, but highlight things you'll forget, and then make short notes. Like short notes means very short. Like even let's say 1 chapter you have like half book written of notes. Your short note should be like 1 page, 2 page. If you have restricted that, then the next time you revise, you just have to read 1 or 2 pages. So you just write whatever you'll remember, like forget, and then what can be written for mains in that manner. And then you should also remember that you should only remember for mains at least, it's only 150 word or 250 word. And your note for a 150 word question should be like very little. Just the words. You don't have to write the line. No verbs needed, no nouns needed. I mean, just the word.
Thank you, sir.
That's it for today then. We all should get up and thank Siddharth for coming and sparing his time. Thank you so much, Siddharth, for coming and making this event happen.